While both of today's films are highly effective and rich in atmosphere, I guess the only thing that ties them together is the fact that they're both about obsession. This is number 2 in the M.L. Miller Frights Countdown that's been running all month in October, running down the best horror movies released between October 1st, 2024 and September 30th, 2025. At number 2 is Red Rooms, aka Les Chambres Rouges. It was released on October 30th, 2024, and is streaming on Shudder from Nemesis Films Productions. It's directed and written by Pascal Plante. Kellyanne, played by Juliette Garipi, is a French-Canadian fashion model who becomes obsessed with a case involving a serial killer, played by Maxwell McCabe-Locos, who broadcasts his killings online for paying customers, also known as a Red Room. She meets Clementine, played by Laurie Babine, a homeless woman who is equally obsessed with the case. But the reasons why both women have taken such great interest in the case turn out to be very, very different. Hands down, Red Rooms is one of the most compelling films I've seen this year. It deals with the celebrity status given to serial killers and the strange but common tendency for those killers to have a kind of fandom attributed to them during high-profile trials. It delves into what it means to be obsessed with killers and how people form their own realities, ignoring damning evidence and instead attaching some kind of sympathetic story wrapped around what seems to be heinous crimes by most people. It's about how some people can look at a painting and see one thing, and another can look at the same and see something completely different. Red Rooms is a broad yet intimate look at complex perspectives that'll have you talking about it long after it's said and done. Now, Red Rooms is a slow burner. It smolders for long periods of time, allowing the viewer to get to know Kellyanne and Clementine, mainly showing their similarities in terms of their fascination with the case. There's an awesome fugue around these two characters for such a long time, and when you think you've got it all figured out into what kind of perversity this film is playing around with, it turns things on its end again. To say I was riveted to the screen while watching Red Rooms is an understatement. There are scenes in Red Rooms that are so intense you're going to need to pause it for a second just to walk off the creep that you find yourself entombed in. This is an intense film about some morbid shit, and the thing is, you never really get to see what's going on in the Red Rooms. You see the faces of those who have seen the footage, you hear the gasps and see the tears. Simply seeing these reactions from the courtroom is enough to know you really don't want to see that footage. Red Rooms does such a good job of sliding the viewer into the uncomfortable shoes of Kellyanne and Clementine, two people who have such twisted personalities that it'll make you want a few showers after viewing. But Red Rooms also plays with those perceptions, those preconceived notions we all have, judging people even though we don't know the entire story. In many ways, Red Rooms plays like a film version of the story of the blind man and the elephant, where each man feels a part of the elephant and believes he knows for sure what it is, though they never really understand what it is because of the limited way we look at things. Just when you think you figured out this twisted puzzle box of a movie, it pulls that final blindfold away and knocks you over with a thunderous gut punch out of nowhere. This film is one surprise after another, delving into depths few films dare to tread. One of the reasons Red Rooms is so effective, above and beyond the genius way it reveals secrets, is the use of sound. There's a particular scene in the courtroom involving Kellyanne and the serial killer that is mesmerizing as it counters the tragic actions with unnatural music and unnerving sounds ripped from a nightmare. Actresses Juliette Garipi and Laurie Babine bring to life some amazing characters in Kellyanne and Clementine. Garipi has this stare that makes you wonder what kind of twisted shit is going on inside her head. She's a blank slate, never letting on what exactly it is she's up to until the very last minute. It's a riveting performance that gets better upon rewatch. As closed up as Garipe's Kellyanne is, Babine is an open book as Clementine, who has a naive view of the world and an even more naive way of looking at this case. Seeing what this case does to her, though, is unmeasurably heartbreaking. With these two serial killer groupies, director-writer Pascal Plante approaches the celebrity of cases such as these from two very distinct and detailed angles. While much of the violence is described in the cold confines of the courtroom, Red Rooms is absolutely hypnotizing from the beginning to end and filled with feelings and notions that will stain the soul, mainly because you're forced to live this case through the eyes of people who may not have the best of intentions. Red Rooms is a comment on our overwhelming fascination with death and other taboo subjects. It teases that urge to look at a car crash when you pass by on the highway, hoping you'll see something and then cursing yourself if you actually do. Add Red Rooms to that short list of uncannily fascinating films you can never unexperience, and add filmmaker Pascal Plante to my list of directors I will follow closely from here on out. You're not going to want to miss Red Rooms. Worth noting is The MOOR. It was released on June 13th, 2025, and is available on demand at Amazon Prime from Raven Banner Entertainment. It was directed by Chris Cronin and written by Paul Thomas. A young boy named Danny is abducted as a child and never found. Many years later, there's still no clue as to what happened to the young lad, but his father, Bill, played by David Edward Robertson, contacts his son's childhood friend Claire, played by Sophia Laporta, who was with Danny when he was abducted, with new knowledge of the child's whereabouts. With the help of a psychic, Bill believes he has finally found the spot where his son's body lies, deep in the misty and dank moor in Yorkshire. Like The MOOR itself, The MOOR is a dark and dour little movie that really captures that sheer hopelessness feeling through its rich atmosphere. Filled with scenes of damp ground and foggy landscapes, this is not one movie you're going to come out with feeling good. You can almost feel your boots sinking into the ground and the cold creeping in under your collar with this one. The MOOR really grabs you right from its opening scene as we see a young Claire and Danny going to a corner store, and then all of a sudden Danny is gone. This shocking scene sets the tone of the film, as there really are very few clues other than we see Danny run into a person the camera never shows. It starts with a true mystery, and because we are there with Claire for the abduction, we empathize with her because, though we know something bad happened, there really is no information provided as to where the boy could be. It's this lack of detail that serves as a persistent itch for both Claire and the viewer all through the film. Something happened to him, but really, no one has any idea why. Not even the viewer. The film has some wonderfully comfortable performances from Sophia Laporta and David Edward Robertson. Laporta's Claire wants to move on with her life, but feels the obligation to help Bill try to find out what happened to Danny. We see and understand her frustration, though she really doesn't have a moment where she can express it. It's all in the way she looks at Bill and begrudgingly goes on these wild goose chases through the moor with him to find Danny. David Edward Robertson is equally strong as Bill, a man overcome with obsession to find his boy, even all these years later. It's heartbreaking to see it play out. This man has thrown away his life and dedicated it to finding his boy in a place that swallows up anything that enters it. The MOOR almost stumbles and falls on its face in the end. It's almost as if the film didn't have an actual ending in mind while filming, and then there was a rash decision to change filming formats at the end to give it more of a shockaroo finale. The film was scary enough without the switch to found footage by the end, but I must admit this immersive effect grabbed this viewer and dragged me into that mucky moor. The atmosphere alone worked for me throughout the film, and I don't think this shift was needed. Still, being a fan of the subgenre, when it does switch to a more handheld POV, I found it equally unnerving. There are some effective scares in the final reel of The MOOR. I just don't know if the shift in formats was necessary. Nevertheless, The MOOR is a depressingly effective deep dive into obsession and a life wasted on attempting to find out the unfathomable. It's not a movie you skip away from with a whistle. This is one that will haunt you long after due to the solid performances and amazing atmosphere. Sure, the final scenes set to found footage is a bold choice that may not work 100%, but I was still impacted quite a bit by this sad little movie. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your own favorite movies of the year. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.